The arena smelled of ionized blood, stale popcorn, and bureaucracy. It was carved into the fractured crust of Virek 9, a death moon once used for mass executions, then converted, naturally, into the most lucrative sports venue in the Vaxilin quadrant. From orbit, it resembled a molten eye socket. Close, it was worse. Lava vents belched a constant stream of pinkish smog that tasted faintly of regret and ammonia. The seats were alloyed bone and titanium. The toilets had teeth. The arena's name was unpronounceable to most humanoids, but the human broadcasters had dubbed it the Crater, which everyone agreed sounded gritty and marketable. The Pangalactic Combat Tournament was mid-season, ratings were high, and several trillion beings were tuned in via organ-mounted holonodes, cortex jacks, and the occasional forbidden neural shunt. The crowd rippled with motion, slithering, flapping, vibrating with excitement. Species that didn't even share the same temperature ranges huddled together in diplomatic boxes, trying not to get eaten. This wasn't just blood sport. This was politics. And today's fight had the narrative arc the Galactic Sports Committee prayed for in every bio-sacrificial ritual. The reigning champion was an apex predator from Threx Prime, a bipedal death beast known as Zarnox the Scaled Judicator, or Scaly to fans who'd paid extra for merchandise rights. He had 6 upper limbs, 2 combat tails, armored eyelids, and teeth that regenerated faster than most species could respawn. He'd murdered 5 contenders in under 9 seconds and once bit through a neutron bar out of boredom. His opponent was a human. Specifically, a woman from Earth, listed in the tournament ledger as Mira Trask, Sniper Class. Humans had no planetary sponsors. Their political clout was laughable. Their last representative had exploded during a pre-match handshake, due to a misunderstanding involving customs, voltage, and hubris. As a species, humans were considered charmingly suicidal, like caffeinated squirrels with dreams of empire. Mira entered the arena with no fanfare. No banners. No entourage. Just the echo of her boots against the obsidian floor. A hush fell. Which was impressive, considering the arena held over 12 million spectators and 2 sentient gas clouds currently having a territorial disagreement. She looked small. Not fragile. More like deliberately compact. Her armor was old Earth issue, matte black and scuffed, lacking any flashy kinetic plating or venom ducts. A single rifle case was slung across her back. Her expression was unreadable, like a closed vault or a very patient landmine. In the box reserved for the Council of Combat Ethics, a ceremonial oversight committee best known for looking the other way, a Glorvian official tapped his forehead tendrils together in concern. "Is she unarmed?" it asked through a translator drone. "No," said the drone's other half. "She's human. That is the weapon." Down in the pit, Mira stopped at her mark, directly across from a pile of ornamental skulls. Zarnox hadn't arrived yet, which was tradition. Champions made an entrance. Their opponents stood and waited, preferably looking nervous. Mira yawned. High above, the holographic face of Trivoice Lernick, the arena's 3-headed announcer, flickered to life in full 16K and 16 different languages. "Honored guests and incidental life forms," Lernick intoned, each of his mouths taking a different linguistic sector, "welcome to round 17 of the Pangalactic Combat Tournament. We remind you that mind melding during the match is prohibited, and all psychic wagers must be pre-registered with a licensed broker. Today's bout is brought to you by Slorg's Digestive Enhancers. Eat boldly. Digest less painfully." Laughter erupted from a few species with functioning humor glands. On the East Quadrant, weighing in at 2,148 units of carnage, the reigning blood titan of the outer sectors, the Threxian nightmare incarnate. Zarnox the Scaled Judicator. A door the size of a small moon split open. Fire burst out, followed by the sound of a tortured war horn and the unmistakable odor of cooked protein. Zarnox emerged, 12 feet of armored scale and ego, rippling with ceremonial grease. He was adorned in ceremonial bindings made from the flesh of conquered diplomats. His claws tapped the floor like a death metronome. 4 of his eyes glowed red. The 5th blinked sideways. The 6th was rumored to be decorative. The audience lost their collective mind. The fungal empires screamed spores into the air. The amphibian sect chanted in wet harmony. Even the stonekin cracked in appreciation, which, for them, was basically standing ovation and orgasm rolled into one. Zarnox bellowed his traditional greeting, "I am the end of your biocycle." Mira gave him a finger-gun salute. 2 clicks. Casual. Almost friendly. Lernick's middle voice wheezed in glee. And in the West Quadrant, weighing significantly less, representing no world, no alliance, and no coherent species policy. Mira Trask of Earth. Scattered chuckles. Some applause. A few honks. The betting boards shimmered into view. Current odds, Zarnox, 1 to 1.002. Mira, 1 to 999. Somebody coughed. Someone else died from the price of a bet they just placed. A Varthian noble tried to have his assistant executed for buying human merch in public. Back in the pit, Mira dropped her rifle case with a metallic thunk. Zarnox tilted his head. "That weapon does not look bonded." "It isn't," she replied, checking the scope. "But it's loyal. Your bones will scent the arena for cycles." "Probably. Yours might need labeling, though." He blinked. She winked. In the royal booth, the ambassador of Scree turned to the fungal empress. "Why are humans like this?" it asked, baffled. "They were banned from most galactic dating platforms," she replied. "Too many threats, not enough follow-through." The floor beneath the combatants pulsed with red light. A voice, ancient and digitized, echoed from the arena walls. Combat engagement sequence initiated. A single pedestal rose from the center. Upon it sat the scone of law, a petrified baked good believed to be a remnant of the first bureaucratic war. All combatants were required to salute it. No one knew why. Some believed the scone was watching. Mira approached it solemnly, gave it a respectful nod, and then, very gently, flipped it the bird. Not the aggressive kind. The kind that says, "No hard feelings, but I'm about to do something stupid." Zarnox roared again. Something in the arena's dome cracked from the frequency. Across 100 star systems, viewership spiked. Children were warned to look away. Many looked anyway. The floor began to shift, modular platforms reconfiguring to provide uneven terrain. Gravity panels adjusted. Temperature skewed. The arena twisted subtly, recalibrating for maximum chaos. Environmental modifiers were chosen at random. Acidic mist, low oxygen fog, and a swarm of friendly decoys shaped like terrified diplomats. Mira didn't blink. She stepped onto the nearest rise and slung her rifle onto her shoulder. "Does your species always fight with such ceremony?" she asked, mostly to herself. Zarnox was already pacing, claws scoring lines into the metal. His tails flicked in aggression. The announcers narrated every twitch, every snarl, every calculated display of dominance. And Mira, she sat down, cross-legged, rifle in her lap, breathing slow and steady. In the box of Earth's defunct delegation, a cracked relic of humanity's last failed treaty, an old AI sputtered to life. A blinking light. A soft chime. Combatant Trask has engaged sniper protocol. Observational mode. No one noticed. The match hadn't started yet. But the terms were set. A predator. A problem. A problem solver with a scope and a vendetta buried so deep not even she remembered the name attached to it. Back on the arena floor, Mira muttered something only her rifle could hear. "Let them cheer now." She adjusted the lens by 1 micron. Checked for wind that didn't exist. Searched for patterns not yet born. The crowd wanted carnage. Blood. Limbs and screaming. But she wasn't here to entertain them. She was here to end it. Somewhere in the upper decks, a nervous bookie recalculated the odds. Somewhere deeper, a diplomat made a phone call that would later be classified. Zarnox flexed all 6 of his upper limbs, then growled something in a tongue reserved for mourning or maiming. Mira smiled. The match hadn't started, but she'd already seen the ending. The lights dimmed. The countdown began. 3. Zarnox tensed. 2. The crowd leaned forward. 1. Mira breathed out. A heartbeat. Silence. And the universe held its breath, wondering how one small, squishy sniper could possibly survive what came next. She intended to disappoint them all. Mira Trask didn't like her full name. Mira was fine, terse, no frills, carried just enough weight to sound like a threat if whispered correctly. But Trask made her sound like a retired bureaucrat or a forgotten spice. Worse still, in the military they called her Ellie, for reasons she never corrected, and eventually the nickname stuck like old blood under fingernails. Somewhere, deep in the spidery data archives of the Terran Exodus program, her full name was listed alongside her birth planet and blood type and the phrase, probability of successful reintegration, negligible. She was, as one now-deceased commander put it, the kind of sniper who makes silence feel like a countdown. At the moment, Mira sat on a folding bench in a rusted locker room the size of a gunship cargo bay, surrounded by leaking pipes and the occasional hostile maintenance drone. The pre-fight chamber for non-sponsor combatants was an afterthought. Bare concrete, flickering lights, and a faint smell of synthetic citrus meant to mask the heavier, iron-rich scent of recent failure. The walls were peppered with names etched by hopefuls who hadn't returned. She didn't bother looking for space. She wouldn't leave a mark. That wasn't her style. Her rifle lay across her knees like a sleeping pet. It was older than the arena, cobbled together from 5 different Terran eras, coated in matte gray and adorned with a strip of black tape on the side that read, "This end toward enemy." The Whisper Thorn, her name for it, not its designation, was neurolinked and slightly temperamental. She liked it that way. Perfect weapons were for perfect soldiers, and she'd never met one of those that lived long. A soft hiss signaled the arrival of her pre-match observer, a gelatinous intelligence in a containment orb. It drifted toward her, pulsing with unreadable bioluminescence. "You are combatant Mira Trask?" it asked through a flat, toneless translator. "Define combatant," she replied, not looking up. "Designation: human. Subdesignation: sniper class. Statistical survival rate: 3%. That high was not intended as optimism. She tapped the side of the orb, then stopped sounding hopeful. The orb floated silently for a beat, either confused or judgmental. Then it projected a holographic checklist, standard protocol before all sanctioned matches. She ignored most of it. One line caught her eye. "Emotion state calibration required," the orb said. "No. It is mandatory. Try me." The orb paused again, clearly recalculating her value as a compliant data point. Then it highlighted the line and moved on. She leaned back, eyes half-lidded, watching the overhead lights buzz in erratic rhythm. Somewhere, the crowd was screaming for blood. They didn't care whose, as long as it looked theatrical and came with a slow-motion replay. Mira preferred her kills quiet. Efficient. Beautiful, if they were especially deserving. She once took out a warlord mid-monologue. Hit the neurostem through his nasal cavity while he was quoting his own manifesto. Took 4 seconds for the body to slump. They edited out the part where she sipped coffee during the exit wound bloom. No one liked a professional. Not in war. Not in sport. A chime echoed through the chamber. 5 minutes to arena entry. Mira rose with the quiet grace of someone who'd trained under 7 gravity systems and once shot a target underwater while inverted. Her body didn't look impressive. She wasn't bulky, didn't glow, didn't sprout exoskeletal features or ritualistic tattoos. She looked, in the polite words of a Groltak journalist, like something easily misplaced in a crowd of sturdier organisms. That was the point. She attached the rifle to her back holster, cracked her knuckles, and opened a small side pouch. Inside was a picture, creased and faded, the kind that wasn't meant to survive interstellar travel. It showed 2 people. One of them was smiling. Mira never looked at the photo for more than 3 seconds at a time. That was enough. She slid it back in, sealed the pouch, and exhaled. Across the galaxy, her name didn't mean much. Not to governments, not to historians, not to mercenaries. But in very small circles, often found in very dark rooms, it carried weight. It whispered of clean kills, impossible shots, and the unspoken rule that if Mira Trask had been hired, someone important was already dead, they just hadn't noticed yet. A memory flickered. She was 17, belly flat against Martian dust, watching her squad leader's spine fold inward from a sniper round she hadn't seen. No last words. No scream. Just geometry and impact. That was when she decided she'd never be surprised again. Not by weapons. Not by politics. Not by people. Especially not by people. The orb pulsed once more. You are now to proceed to the transition corridor. Final message input. She thought about it, then shrugged. Make it, don't bet on me unless you like disappointment. Recorded. The corridor door hissed open. Steam rose. Somewhere overhead, a dozen sponsors were already rewriting their PR statements in case she died quickly. A human dying was expected. A human winning? That would be messy. Complicated. Expensive. She stepped through the haze and into the corridor, alone. On the other side, standing behind a high observation screen, two alien commentators, one with feathers, one with antennae, were mid-broadcast. She appears calm, said the antennae one, tone thick with skepticism. Perhaps resigned, replied the other. Or simply not intelligent enough to understand what's about to happen. Do humans process fear differently? They process everything differently. They once declared war on their own moon. That was a hoax. No. It was just covered up well. Mira walked beneath them without looking up. She had heard worse. Once, during a peacekeeping op on Dakar Minor, a 12-limbed matriarch called her a flesh pencil with delusions of grandeur. That pencil had later marked the location of 3 enemy artillery nests, all erased in under 7 seconds. She didn't believe in retorts. Just results. Her boots clinked against the polished alloy as she reached the final checkpoint. An official, species indeterminate, wearing too many medals and not enough patience, met her with a scanner. Name, it demanded. Trask. Rank. Not applicable. Mental condition. Private. The official frowned. At least Mira assumed it did. Its head was mostly eyes and cartilage. Purpose for engagement? She considered lying, then shrugged. Correction. Of what? An oversight. Before the official could parse that, a secondary alarm signaled the match start sequence. Mira stepped past it, into the lift that would raise her to the surface. She closed her eyes, steadied her breath, and activated her neural targeting interface. The edges of her vision filled with parameters: distance, wind drift, curvature metrics. She dimmed it to near zero. Most of it was noise. The only number she cared about was the distance between her and the next mistake. The lift rose with a hiss and a tremor. Above, the arena crowd was already in mid-frenzy. They expected an opening taunt, maybe some posturing, something dramatic and photogenic. But Mira wasn't here for them. She wasn't even here for Zarnox. She was here because someone once told her that humans were only good for dying slowly and amusingly. That they lacked the elegance of Aurelian assassins, the brutality of Trovic brutes, the pure efficiency of drawn mercs. And they were mostly right. But Mira had killed all 3. Not out of vengeance. Just to test the theory. The lift platform locked into place. The roar of the crowd was a physical thing now, washing over her in waves of sound and scent and synthetic pheromones. Cameras hovered. Drones circled. Somewhere in the control tower, a producer was mumbling prayers to a ratings algorithm. Mira walked out onto the floor with the quiet self-assurance of someone who'd already calculated all the variables and found them amusing. Her rifle hung at her side, relaxed. Her face was blank. Not cold. Just distant. Like her mind was somewhere far away, watching through a pane of unbreakable glass. In the crowd, a young alien pointed. Is she smiling? No, said its parent. She's remembering. On the opposite end, the arena doors opened with a scream of steam and flame. Zarnox entered in a blaze of ceremonial violence, teeth bared, limbs twitching with showmanship. The audience shrieked in pleasure. Mira didn't flinch. She looked him over once, took one breath, and muttered, "Too many joints." The crowd didn't hear her. The announcers missed it. But the rifle, ancient and loyal, registered her pulse slowing. She wasn't ready to kill. She already had. The countdown began again. And this time, Mira Trask smiled. The arena reconfigured itself like a bored god rearranging furniture. Massive hexagonal plates shifted underfoot, rising and falling in asymmetrical patterns. Gravity wells activated, pulling patches of floor into unnatural slopes, while localized wind generators whipped the air into miniature sandstorms. For species with wings, it added flair. For species with lungs, it added pressure. For species with both, it added confusion. Mira Trask stood at the edge of a raised platform, boots magnetized, posture lazy. Her rifle remained strapped to her back, untouched. Across the battlefield, Zarnox snarled from atop a jagged obsidian peak, his silhouette backlit by the flickering neon of an artificial aurora. Theatrics. Muscle. Posturing. He exuded confidence in the way only apex predators or bureaucrats could manage. A low hum built in the atmosphere as the announcer's voice echoed across the expanse. The battlefield is set. Combat modifiers have been randomized. Environmental hazards. Active. Spectator safety. Optional. Begin when ready. The crowd screamed in anticipation, their cheers translated into bursts of color and smell for the more synesthetic species. The air thickened with ozone and tension. The betting markets recalculated odds every millisecond, desperate to track any nuance in posture or breath. Zarnox began to move. It was a charge, but not immediate. He bounded in a zigzag path, testing the terrain, flanking without appearing to flank, muscles undulating like an avalanche dressed in scales. His tails lashed for balance. His claws sparked as they scraped the stone. Mira remained still. Her internal HUD pinged softly. Wind vectors. Trajectory possibilities. Estimated reaction times. She dismissed them all. Too early. Too clean. She dropped from her perch without activating jump assist. Landed hard. Rolled. Dust and static clung to her as she emerged from the crouch, already moving toward a lower section dotted with derelict cover. Broken pillars, half-melted barriers, and a single ornamental fountain shaped like a diplomat begging for mercy. She knelt behind the fountain's shattered basin and finally unstrapped her rifle. The whisper thorn hummed softly as it activated, syncing with her neural signature. Mira adjusted the scope by 2 microns. Her breath slowed. Zarnox was closing now. She fired. The shot went wide. The crowd laughed, those who had mouths. The cameras zoomed in on Zarnox's grin. Even the announcers couldn't resist. An unexpected miss from the human. Are we witnessing the prelude to surrender or simply poor calibration? Mira didn't react. The round embedded into a panel on the arena wall and fizzled out harmlessly. Useless shot. Visually unimpressive. Tactically brilliant. She fired again. A second miss. This one struck a dangling support strut halfway across the field. Zarnox paused. Then, louder than before, he laughed, a thunderous, ragged sound like metal dragged across bone. His voice carried, amplified for dramatic effect. You can't even aim. This is sport. Mira chambered a third round, not looking at him. I'm not aiming at you yet. A vibration rippled through the floor as he leapt forward. She rolled left, slid beneath a falling slab of synthetic stone, and vaulted into a narrow trench system built for line-of-sight combatants. The whisper thorn barked again, another shot wasted, this one clipping a low-hanging sensor tower. From the audience's perspective, she looked erratic, desperate, clinging to mobility and praying for a lucky hit. To Mira, it was choreography. Each shot, each ricochet, each movement marked a point in a larger equation. She wasn't fighting Zarnox. She was shaping the field. She sprinted now, hopping from one unstable plate to another, activating her boots' magnetic soles at precise intervals to counter the altered gravity. Zarnox followed like a freight train dipped in lava, tearing through obstacles, no finesse, all force. Mira reached a rusted pillar with an ancient galactic emblem etched into it, some long-forgotten peace treaty. She crouched, scanned, and fired again. The shot hit a reflective surface near the edge of the arena and ricocheted into the wall above the crowd. No damage. No explanation. Zarnox leapt high, clearing 20 meters in a single bound. Mira looked up. Calculated. He descended like doom. She threw herself sideways, sliding down a ramp into an artificial valley filled with scorched wreckage. His claws missed by inches, ripping the earth where she'd been. The tremor knocked her sideways. Her shoulder screamed. She ignored it. He landed. Smiled. Advanced. Why run, little sharpshot? You'll die slower if you face me. Mira spat blood onto the floor. I'm counting on that. She raised her rifle again. He lunged. This time she aimed directly. And fired. The shot struck him in the chest, dead center. And bounced. No penetration. Not even a scratch. Zarnox roared with laughter, chest puffed out like a parade balloon. Was that your best? Mira blinked. Her breathing stayed calm. She backed into the wreckage, disappearing from sight. The announcers were giddy. An armor-deflecting hit. The human appears outclassed. She continues to flee. Tactical retreat or existential despair. In the control tower, a junior analyst monitoring telemetry frowned. Sir, she's laying out a pattern. What kind of pattern? I don't know. But it's geometric. Reset the odds, just in case. Zarnox crashed through the wreckage like a sledgehammer in a sandcastle, growling and tearing apart metal. You are nothing. A trickster with sparks. I will rip your... Click. The sound came from behind him. He turned. A decoy drone, one of the diplomat-shaped models from earlier, floated into view, blinking a red light on its foci. It projected Myra's voice. Look up. He did. Too late. The tower she'd shot earlier, the strut, the panel, the sensor plate, all aligned. The final ricochet had been a signal. A sequence. The arena's emergency gravity well activated. Momentarily, just enough. A crate-sized chunk of arena debris, marked earlier with a deflection round, was pulled from the far side of the battlefield at impossible speed. It struck Zarnox's shoulder with the force of a speeding gunship. He stumbled. Roared. That's when Mira emerged from cover. Not running now. Not hiding. Come. Upright. Rifle already aligned. The targeting reticle overlaid 3 weak points she'd spent the last 10 minutes plotting, joints no one knew Threxians had. She fired. First round, right elbow joint. Tendon disruption. Claw flailed. Second round, base of tail. Nervous system interference. Balance compromised. Third round, under the 6th eye. Penetration. Zarnox collapsed like a building gutted from within. Silence fell over the arena. Not stunned gasps. Real silence. Even the smell of ozone seemed to freeze. Mira stood over him, 1 foot against a twisted scale. The announcers' voices were gone. The crowd was no longer cheering. They were calculating. Reputation. Politics. Economics. A human. With a rifle. Had just dismantled a living war legend. She leaned close to Zarnox's face. His 6 eyes twitched. You talked too much, she said. Then she turned her back on him. No celebration. No posing. She simply walked away, boots crunching over debris. Behind her, the emergency med drones began to descend, unsure if they were salvaging or saving. In the skybox, the ambassador from Threx Prime slammed its translator drone against the glass. She cheated. No rule broken, muttered a high-ranking judge through a flared proboscis. She manipulated the arena. She used the arena. There's a difference. The ambassador seethed. Recall your declaration, it said. No. She shamed us. She played the game. Mira exited the arena via the non-victor's tunnel. Quieter. Narrower. No camera coverage. It was where most assumed she'd go anyway. She preferred it that way. In her ear, the arena AI spoke. Combatant Mira Trask. Victory confirmed. Would you like a recording? No. Would you like to provide a statement? She paused at the threshold. Only this. She removed the neural link, let the whisperthorn power down, then whispered, "Let them wonder how I did it," and stepped into the shadows. The galaxy paused, just for a moment. On Vyrek 9, the crowd had fallen into that rare and holy state of stunned silence, an arena-wide concussion of disbelief. 1 second ago, they were screaming for blood. Now, they sat frozen in the aftermath of a perfectly timed, meticulously choreographed humiliation. The apex predator of Threx Prime lay twitching, half buried in arena debris, his twitching tails the only proof of life. The human, Mira Trask, had already disappeared beneath the arena, as if her victory were an unfortunate scheduling conflict she needed to move past. The announcer's 3 heads took several seconds to recover. "We are witnessing history." "No, we're witnessing litigation." "Technically, both." Somewhere in the VIP chamber, the betting algorithm malfunctioned. The payout for Myra's victory exceeded the economic yield of 6 minor planets. 4 noble families went instantly bankrupt. 1 gambling syndicate declared war on its own AI for failing to hedge the bet. The syndicated news cluster ran emergency segments in every broadcast language, all variations on a theme. How the hell did that just happen? The Threxian delegation was already in uproar. 6 advisors shouted at once. One of them had bitten the table. Ambassador Krull's eye stalks shook with what the diplomatic corps referred to as pre-assassination tremors. "She cheated," Krull barked, flinging a translator drone into the glass. "She tampered with the terrain." "Incorrect," intoned the presiding judge from the Intergalactic Combat Ethics Council, a 6-eyed jelly with a doctorate in jurisprudence and flair for deadpan. "She utilized the environment within the parameters of the match. She humiliated a sovereign champion." "Yes," the judge said. "Flawlessly." A silence bloomed again, this time heavier. No one wanted to admit what they were thinking. A human, a species best known for unreliable treaties, mismatched shoes, and overuse of metaphors, had just redefined elite combat strategy. She hadn't simply beaten Zarnox. She'd solved him. And she hadn't celebrated. That was the part that stuck. In the understructure beneath the arena, Mira walked alone down a dimly lit corridor lined with old blood and failed ambitions. She removed her neural interface mid-stride, clipped it to her belt, and exhaled. Not relief. Not pride. Just completion. The whisperthorn hung slack over her shoulder, quiet now, like a dog that had already chased its final rabbit. In the distance, security drones stirred but didn't approach. Cameras panned toward her but didn't dare flash. She was off-script now. The tournament didn't plan for exits like this. A soft ping echoed in her ear. Priority call. She ignored it. Then a second. Encrypted. High level. She sighed and answered. "Mira Trask," said a voice, male, Terran Standard, gravel-lined and careful. "I'm calling on behalf of the Diplomatic Advisory Corps. Congratulations. Or condolences. Depending. Wrong frequency for flattery," she said. "I assume you know what this means." "I've never assumed anything in my life." There was a pause on the line. Then a chuckle. 3 sectors are calling emergency summits. The Threxians are demanding sanctions. Half the outer belt wants to license your combat footage for military training. And someone sent you a fruit basket. Possibly ironic. I don't do endorsements. We know. That's why we're calling. We want you to disappear. That usually happens after I shoot someone. We mean officially. Off the record. Clean extraction. No interviews. No parades. Just ghost out. She slowed her walk. Considered. "Why?" she asked. "Because right now, you're a symbol. A very inconvenient one. And symbols get carved into statues or carved up. We'd rather you be neither." "Who's we?" "The people who still think humans are better underestimated." She stopped walking. The lights overhead flickered. "I want 2 things," she said. Name them. First, wipe my file. All of it. Every war. Every contract. Every kill. No shrine. No martyrdom. No record. Done. Second, send the fruit basket to Kroll's delegation. With a note. What note? She smiled, just a little. Thank you for underestimating me. The line cut. In the arena above, they were trying to salvage the broadcast. A spokesperson from the Combat Integrity Directorate, a squat, furred bureaucrat with a monocle and antennae, gave a trembling statement about unexpected tactical innovation and a reaffirmation of interspecies equality. It sounded like someone trying to describe a house fire as an unexpected architectural pivot. The Threxians withdrew their ambassadorial team from 3 stations. 100 micro-alliances recalculated their treaties. 1 galactic empire shifted its recruiting policy. On 36 planets, human children were suddenly being enrolled in sniper academies. On 6 others, humans were quietly banned from the next season of tournaments. Mira stepped out into the loading bay. No lights. No applause. A single transport ship waited, older model, unregistered, painted matte gray. The AI interface buzzed to life. Destination. She thought for a moment, then said, somewhere with no arenas. Specific coordinates unavailable. Perfect. The ramp hissed. She climbed inside. As the bay doors sealed behind her, another voice, this one synthetic, clipped, undoubtedly governmental, issued a galaxy-wide communiqué. Due to recent developments in the Pangalactic Combat Tournament, the Board of Hostile Engagement Oversight will conduct a full review of rules governing environmental manipulation, weapon latency, and sniper classification. Until further notice, human combatants will be reassigned to observational or advisory roles only. No one was fooled. They were scared. Not of humanity. Of her. On a fringe outpost in the Dust Verge, a child rewatched the match on loop, eyes wide, jaw slack. His father, an old miner with cybernetic knees, shook his head. Thought they said humans were soft. Not that one. What was her name? The boy looked up. Don't think she ever said. Far away, in a conference room shaped like a lung, the Galactic Senate debated emergency countermeasures. Half the room wanted to reclassify Mira Trask as a tactical anomaly. The other half wanted to pretend she didn't exist. The vote was split. Outside the window, the stars drifted. In the void, Myra's transport curved silently into the dark. No signature. No trace. But the question would linger, in military briefings, in bar fights, in bedtime stories told on planets no one bothered to map anymore. Why are women snipers feared across the galaxy? Not because they shoot. Not because they win. Because you never see it coming. And when it's over, all that's left is the echo.